What's up everybody, Jared here with carbuzz.com, and today I am filming at Audi North Orlando in Sanford with the new 2022 Audi Q4 e-Tron. I want to give a big thanks to Audi North Orlando for letting me film their demo car right here, because this is fresh on the market for this model year. Audi hasn't even done a press drive for this vehicle yet, so I am very excited to be bringing you a very early review of it. So I do not have like a window sticker or anything for this vehicle, so I'm going in kind of blind, so if I make any small errors for that, I apologize. I do have the main specs of the Q4 e-Tron, but I don't know exactly what trim we're looking at here. Perhaps that will be revealed as we shoot this video. So the Q4 e-Tron is a compact electric vehicle. This rides on Volkswagen Group's MEB electric architecture. This is the same exact platform as the Volkswagen ID.4 SUV, so we're going to see a very similar wheelbase, battery size, range as we would on the Volkswagen ID.4, but of course this is an Audi, so it is a little bit more premium, and the styling is very different. I really like how this car looks in person. I'm not a huge fan of the white. It does come in this really nice blue color that I'm looking forward to seeing in person, but you can see that Audi has sort of a traditional grille, or at least what looks like a traditional grille here, as they've done on some of their previous electric models, to try and keep that Audi lineage together. You can see here it's finished in this sort of darkish gray, I think, no matter what color you get, and I think it looks really good. So this doesn't immediately scream that you're driving an electric car, which is what some people are looking for. We've got the nice Audi headlights here. This is very different than what we'll see on the Volkswagen ID.4, and we do have some black finish around this grille as well. As I mentioned, this car is finished in white. I believe this is Audi's Ibis white, but I can't be sure, because again, I don't have that Monroney. And I believe this looks like a black optic package, I'm gonna go ahead and guess, because we do have these gray wheels. I've seen that some of the wheels on the Q4's configurator really don't look all that great, but these look pretty fine. They're not massive, they're not overly big, so I expect when we get them out on the road, this is going to give a pretty nice ride. But you can see it's gray finish in the middle with a little bit of silver on the outside, which is a pretty sporty touch. Now moving on to the side profile, this is the standard version of the Q4 e-Tron. There is also going to be a Q4 e-Tron Sportback, so that's going to have a more sloped-like roofline, just like the e-Tron Sportback, the Q5 Sportback, other Sportback models that Audi makes. You're basically going to lose a little bit on the roofline. It's going to slant down, so you'll probably have a little bit of a smaller trunk as well. Although Audi's press release seems to make it look like you're actually getting more trunk space on the Sportback than on the regular Q4, although that could just be a typo from Audi. I really like this taillight bar that stretches all the way across the vehicle. It is quite cool. I believe you can have this do a bunch of different lighting animations. It even mentions customizable lighting animations as well. Unfortunately, we're looking at this car in broad daylight, so I don't think I'm going to be able to show you those. Because this is electric, we don't have any tailpipes, obviously, and I kind of like how it says e-Tron just kind of etched in the bumper simply. That is just like a nice subtle touch to let people know that this is an electric vehicle. So we have our Q4 badging on this side, and we do have a Quattro badge over here because this is the dual motor version of the Q4. You will next year, for the 2023 model year, be able to get the Q4 as a rear wheel drive vehicle, just like the Volkswagen ID.4, but not yet for the 2022 model year. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the rear hatch, which is powered here on this model that we're driving. So you have your buttons for that up here. You can see that we do have some floor mats and other stuff like that waiting. Obviously, this car is waiting to be not delivered. This is, I think, earmarked to be a demo car, but we do have all the Q4 floor mats and things like that. We'll see if there's any fluid under the floor storage, which there is. So you can see a little bit below the floor there. Perfect for your home charger, which I believe is included on this model as well. So that is a nice touch that you do get some underfloor storage there. I'll go ahead and shut this as we check out the back seat here. So this is a rather small vehicle. I believe this sits a little bit smaller than Audi's Q5, hence the Q4 nomenclature, but we've got some nice carved out seats here. You can see this nice kind of whitish tan interior. We've got our cup holders here in the center armrest. I'm gonna go ahead and take a seat, show you how much room we've got. Pretty good here. I'm not bad with the legroom, and actually we do have a Monroney. See, I lied to you. We found out that we do have a Monroney here. So the color is actually Glacier White Metallic for $595. You're going to see the base price. This is for the dual motor Q4. The single motor pricing has not been released yet, $53,300. And then we have the Premium Plus package. So that is the middle. There is a Prestige trim above that, but for $4,100, that is all of the stuff you're going to get. That is a lot of good stuff there that you're probably going to want. There's also a tech package as well. Those 20-inch wheels that I mentioned, as we see, are $800. So I'm really glad that I was able to find this. So now that we know the as tested price of this model that we've been driving is about $62,500, and that doesn't include any tax credits, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. Because this is an Audi, we do have air vents back here. We also have our own little climate control screen here, 2 USB-C ports and a 12-volt outlet, and I really like these little nets. Audi has been doing these for years. I really like these in lieu of a traditional pocket. And we've got some nice big door storage here, which is quite nice. I believe that is another place where you could put a cup, and we do have some nice storage there in the door as well. Plus a not massive, but decently large panoramic roof that kind of stretches a little bit forward from where your head would go, but it is nice that there is a panoramic roof available on that Premium Plus package. And before we check out the front, I do just want to show you what's under the hood, because I know a lot of people ask that whenever we do an EV review like this. And I do want to point out that just like the Volkswagen ID.4, the Q4 e-Tron does not have a front trunk. It is all batteries and motors and wires and stuff under there. And it doesn't matter if you get the rear motor version, it's going to be the same. So as we saw, we have the tan interior here with like this kind of cool suede on like the edge here. That is an interesting touch. I haven't really seen that from Audi before, so that is kind of new for this Q4 model. And just like in the back, we have some really deep pockets in here, which is kind of interesting. So let me go ahead and close the door. And the start button is going to be down here on the Q4 e-Tron. And I'm going to wait for the AC to fire up because it is very, very hot outside. All right. All right, so we have quite a bit to talk about here on the Q4's cabin, starting with this rather interesting steering wheel. I would say that this reminds me a lot of Audi's concept cars. I love this kind of silver lip that we have here. And you'll notice that instead of the traditional buttons, physical buttons that you'll see on an Audi steering wheel, these are actually touch sensitive buttons. So you can use those to swipe across. So you can see there on the left, I'm going up and down between range, consumption, etc. I can have my music information, phone information, or my full color map. And then if I click the view button here, I can switch to the full display. And then of course I can change what is on that full display, so I can alter between view and what's in there. Very different than what you'll find in traditional gas-powered Audi, because obviously you don't need a tachometer on this car. You just have your power and charge gauge there in the middle. And then I have not found any way to adjust the date and time over there on the right. I'm assuming you can do that. Again, I have limited amounts of time with this car, so I haven't been able to play with every function, but the virtual cockpit is alive and well, and it is quite nice. That is a 10.25-inch screen, and then over here we've got our main 10.25-inch screen. This is very standard, very similar to what you're gonna get on other Audi models, so go ahead and watch any of my other Audi videos to get a more deep dive on what this is like. It does have wireless CarPlay, it does have wireless Android Auto, which is quite nice as well. The one thing I've noticed here, at least on this Premium Plus version of the Q4, it doesn't have a 360 camera, it just has a backup camera. I'm assuming if you step up to the Prestige, you'll be able to get that 360 camera. Above it, we have this nice wood trim. It does feel like real wood. It is quite nice. We've got our little e-Tron logo here on the dashboard. The speaker system is a Sonos system. I've not seen that on an Audi before. They usually do Bang & Olufsen, so Sonos is quite new for me to see. Kind of interesting. Again, I haven't really had time to test it, but that is interesting. We've got our normal climate controls down here. So unlike a lot of EVs that hide them on the touch screen, we do have our own physical set of climate controls, which is quite nice. Heated seats, no ventilated seats, unfortunately. Now down here is our shifter. This is similar. I forget what other Audi has this. The e-Tron GT also has this. You just tap it back for reverse, tap it into drive, push P for park. And then we have our little rotating knob thingy for our volume. You kind of just spin it like this. Oh, that's too loud. And then you spin it the other way to lower it. It's usually not that finicky. I've used it for a week in the e-Tron GT. And then we have some storage beneath that, which is quite nice. It is quite deep, actually. You can see my hand goes all the way deep into there, so good amount of space to put a phone or some other storage. We do have 2 USB-C ports and a 12-volt with our cup holders behind it and a little armrest in there. So yeah, I think this interior is pretty nice. I think just having this Audi infotainment system is a huge benefit over the Volkswagen one, because if you watched my ID.4 review or my Volkswagen Golf GTI review, I'm not a big fan of Volkswagen's interface. I much prefer Audi's, just the layout, the fact that there are physical buttons for the climate control. Although it's not a knob, you do get your own separate volume controller. So I think this interior is definitely a big step up from the Volkswagen ID.4, and from behind the wheel, you really cannot tell that the two vehicles are related. Now let's get the Q4 e-Tron out on the road to see if any of those Volkswagen roots show through. All right, so now it's time to get the Q4 e-Tron out on the road. And I mentioned that the one we're driving is the dual motor version. So we've got motor up front, motor in the back, combining to produce 295 horsepower and 339 pound-feet of torque, 0 to 60 in about 5.8 seconds. This is the same setup that you're going to get in the Volkswagen ID.4. Same with the rear-wheel drive version of the Q4, which isn't coming until next year. That's going to produce 201 horsepower and 229 pound-feet of torque. Now that one is not going to be quite as fast, 0 to 60 in 7.9 seconds, but you should be able to go a little bit further on a charge on that dual motor version. Speaking of which, the EPA rates this dual motor version of the Q4 at 241 miles, which is not the best in any respect. There are EVs out there that will go 300 or more miles, but it is certainly not the lowest, and it is higher than Audi's previous electric SUV, the e-Tron, which is a little bit larger. It's doing that using an 82 kilowatt hour pack, 77 kilowatt hours of which are a usable capacity, which is the same as, you guessed it, the Volkswagen ID.4. Now we're going to come to a complete stop here, and I can do a little bit of accelerating here with the dual motor setup. This was pretty quick in the ID.4 and pretty quick here. That definitely gets up to speed in a hurry. I feel like that is a lot less fuss, and that is significantly quicker than something gas powered, like say a 2-liter 4-cylinder Q5, and it is pretty darn quiet in here as well. Obviously no engine, no transmission, so pretty smooth. We're on some decently bumpy roads, and I'm not really feeling this car getting disturbed all that much, despite this being a pretty compact vehicle. Now in terms of charging speeds, again, the Q4 is certainly not the fastest in terms of how quickly it will replenish its battery. Audi says it'll go from 5% charge to 80% charge at 125 kilowatts. Takes about 38 minutes to reach 80% from 5%. Now here's the thing. The Volkswagen ID.4 also used to do 125 kilowatts, but they later upped it to 135, and then with the most recent update, they took it all the way up to 175 kilowatts. Now, I'm really hoping that Audi gives the Q4 that same update, because as of right now, the cheaper vehicle charges quicker. So that is a little bit annoying if you're considering buying a Q4, knowing that the Volkswagen version of your car will charge a little bit quicker. Now here's something good though, to offset the bad. You are going to get 250 kilowatt hours of charging at Electrify America for free over the first 2 years of ownership when you buy this car. So that is something quite nice to consider. Now, I do really like how this Q4 drives. I feel a lot of stability through the steering. This is a little bit heavier than I feel like I've felt in some other Audi SUV models, particularly the Q5. And I think overall, this is a sportier, more dynamic experience than the Q5. So if you're currently shopping for an Audi model right now and maybe the Q5 plug-in hybrid was on your list, I would really seriously take a look at this car, because when you look at the pricing, this really isn't that expensive when you compare it to some of the other luxury electric options, especially compared to something like the Tesla Model Y, which is about a $70,000 car right now. So with that, we're going to go ahead and pull over and take a deeper look at the pricing for the Q4 e-Tron. All right, so that was the 2022 Audi Q4 e-Tron. Pricing for this Q4 50 premium model is going to be $53,300. That is for the dual motor version that we drove in this video. If you want the Prestige, which is the fully loaded version of this car, that's going to be just under 61 grand. If you want the Sportback version, it's $3,000 more, so $56,300 to start, meaning that it is about the same price as the new Genesis GV60 electric car. Now, this is significantly more expensive than the Volkswagen ID.4, which now starts at about $40,000, but a fully loaded ID.4 all-wheel drive Pro S is just under $54,000. So for about the same price as that, you can start getting yourself into an Audi. So if the choice is between a fully loaded Volkswagen ID.4 or a not so loaded Audi Q4, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people, at least in the American market, are probably going to choose the Audi. And here's where I think the Audi is really going to excel. Although it's not available this year, for the 2023 model year, you're going to be able to get the rear-wheel drive version of this car. I know it won't be that fast with only 201 horsepower, but Audi is promising a price tag of under $45,000. That makes it so much cheaper than pretty much any other luxury EV right now, that I absolutely see this becoming a big seller for the brand. Now, I did say I wanted to talk about the tax credit. There is currently, as of this filming, a $7,500 federal tax credit that you can get on the Q4, which is going to pull that price down quite significantly. However, the new U.S. Inflation Reduction Act is going to take that tax credit away for vehicles that are not assembled here in North America. So I don't know how long that tax credit is going to last for the Q4. I'm pretty sure it will not last by the time you're ready to buy that rear-wheel drive one next year. So that is definitely something to consider if you want to buy a Q4. I really hope you've enjoyed this first drive of the 2022 Audi Q4 e-Tron. For more videos like it, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. And if you want to see more reviews of vehicles like this Audi Q4, be sure to check out carbuzz.com. I'll see you next time.